I've been a pastor for 28 years. I've been coming to the International Mission Board archives for a couple of years because these stories fascinate me. I think they're the greatest stories, and many of them have just not been told.
I pastor Old Powhatan Baptist Church. I've pastored there for about 10 years. We want missions to not just be an activity of what we do, but we know it's part of who we are. As Southern Baptists, our identity is found in who we've been, and that makes us who we are.
Hey, Brad, good to see you. Ready to go check things out?
Let's go.
The archives go back to 1845, so somehow they had a sense when we started Southern Baptist Missions that we needed to keep a record. This is the file on my dad, Otis Brady, who served as a missionary for almost 40 years. He started in the Bahamas, then he served in Guyana and in Belize. And we're surrounded by files for the almost 25,000 missionaries that we as Southern Baptists have sent around the world. And each file has a great story to tell. This is Eric Alfred Nelson. He's one of our most unique missionaries. He wasn't born in the South. In fact, he was born in Sweden. So Eric had not been in Brazil long when he began to realize that there was just an absolute lack of gospel preaching there in the Amazon. And so God provided him with the funds to buy a boat. Let me show you this. This is his missionary boat. It's called the Buffalo, bought with mission funds. And he did this for over 40 years, just always up the river, always wanting to go further. Here in the archives, there are thousands of artifacts from the 172 years of Southern Baptist Missions history. In fact, what we have here are some of the artifacts from a missionary to Brazil by the name of Blani Foreman. And so even though it was cutting-edge technology, he taught himself how to fly an airplane.
He taught himself how to fly an airplane.
Yep, taught himself how to fly an airplane. In fact, this is the actual headset that Blani used in that airplane.
Wow.
Blani had an incredible ministry there in Brazil. He led many people to faith in Jesus Christ, planted churches, even started a school. But sadly, in 1955, he died in a crash in the jungles of Brazil.
So missionaries have to be willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, absolutely. These are two of my favorite missionaries. This is J. Landrum Holmes and his wife, Sally Little Holmes. They started our Southern Baptist work in North China in 1860. He was actually murdered. He was our first Southern Baptist missionary to die a violent death. She was pregnant when Landrum had died, and she stayed in for 20 years as a single mother. She raised her child and was a missionary there in North China. We have the letters that she actually wrote from North China. For example, this one right here, this one is from Shantung, November of 1861, which is the year that he died. I feel I ought to write, and yet it's very hard to do. I wonder if my heart is broken. I hardly know how I do feel. I feel miserable all the time and in agony often. But I know it's only seeming, and that it really is best just as God has willed it. As far as I know myself, I think I feel unconditional submission to God's will, entire confidence in His love and wisdom, a sort of undefined sense of gratitude to Him for doing what He knows best, though it seems so different to me.
So Sally lost her baby, her husband, had a child on the mission field as a single mother and stayed 20 years.
Right.
And what's obvious here is it's her hope in Christ that kept her going, yes, and willing to sacrifice whatever it took.
This is the application of Rufus Gray. You can see he applied to the board in November of 1939. How long have you purposed becoming a missionary? Rufus says, about 7 years. And how long are you willing to be a missionary? And he says, all my life.
So how long did he serve?
Well, Rufus served for 2 years. He and his wife were appointed to North China, but it was at the beginning of World War II. They left China, went to the Philippines, where they, along with a number of other missionaries, were imprisoned by the Japanese. He was tortured, and he lost his life there for Jesus Christ.
A lot of these stories have to do with missionaries giving their lives for the gospel.
Yeah, it does. Let me take you somewhere. There's Landrum Home, 1861, China. He was 25. There's Rufus Gray, 1942. He was age 26. And there's Blonnie Foreman. He was 55, and he died in Brazil in 1955. And Karen Watson, 2004.
Wait, she died in Iraq, right?
That's right, northern Iraq, along with some of her co-workers. They were on a mission to bring clean water after the war. And then the year before that, in 2003, there's Bill Hyde, and he died in a bomb blast in the island of Mindanao in the Philippines. And a couple weeks after his death, his wife laid a wreath in the crater from the bomb blast, and it said that it was from those who love Filipinos and know that they're worth dying for.